There are so many things to stress about when it comes to international travel. And with my upcoming Europe trip, you know what I'm not stressing about? Finding Wi-Fi or getting scammed on overpriced SIM cards. I'm using Saily, the eSIM app that keeps you connected in over 200 countries without the airport hassle or those ridiculous roaming fees. It's made by the folks behind NordVPN, so privacy and security covered. You install Saily once, pick a plan, and you're good to go. Whether you're hopping countries or just need solid data from the moment you land. And bonus, Saily has a built-in ad blocker that can save you up to 28% on mobile data. That's more scrolling and less wasting data. So if you're traveling soon, do this now. Download the Saily app in your app store and use the code DATEABLE at checkout for 15% off your first data plan. That's DATEABLE for 15% off. Stay connected, stay smart, get Saily.
You know what doesn't belong in your epic summer plans? Getting burned by your old wireless bill. With Mint Mobile, you can get the coverage and speed you're used to, but for way less money. And for a limited time, Mint Mobile is offering 3 months of unlimited premium wireless service for $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number over with all your existing contacts or get an entirely new number. This is what I would totally do if I was dating on the apps right now. This year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get this new customer offer in your 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/dateable. That's mintmobile.com/dateable. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
Hi, I'm Yui Shu.
And I'm Julie Kraftchick.
We're active daters turned dating insiders.
Here to dive into everything modern dating and relationships.
Welcome to Dateable. Hello, friends.
Welcome back to season 21.
Wow. We're old enough to drink.
Party time.
We have to make this clear every season. It's not that we've been around for 21 years. We do several seasons in a year, but we have been around for a minute.
We'd be looking damn young if we'd been doing this for 21 seasons. We've been doing it 10 years. Yeah, 21 years. Yeah, 21 seasons. I guess we do look damn young. But 10 years, 21 seasons. We typically do 2 seasons-ish a year. So that makes sense.
I was looking at some of our earlier videos from when we first started, and we were damn young.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
We look like babies.
There was that one that we did like a live. This was like years ago in New York. Do you remember with that bartender at the bar they used to go to? I don't know. I think we were just like there at the bar, right? We started talking to this bartender.
Yeah.
And
no, we went back for him.
I know. Twice. We started like talking to him that night, and then he like was entertaining and had a lot of stories. And then we're like, we're going to come back and record with you. And the two of us look like babies in that photo.
Babies. I mean, we were babies. This is so long ago. Like that bar does not exist anymore.
I feel like though it wasn't that crazy long ago. It was like 2019. It was like when we were in New York together.
I know.
Like, I think the pandemic aged us all.
No, I look at photos sometimes from like even 2 years ago. I'm like, damn, things just change so drastically at this age. I feel like in my 30s, nothing changed. I just kind of stayed the same mentally, physically. But then 40s,
with age
comes wisdom.
Age is wisdom is exactly what I was going to say. And that kind of leads us to our topic today of what, we've been really like thinking about. I think the last couple of years, we've really been able to like take everything and like think about the larger vision, the larger themes, and clearly How to Be Dateable. We wrote a lot of stuff in that. But I think even post writing the book, we were kind of thinking about it even more of like dating intentionally has been all the buzz. And of course, no shade to dating intentionally, encourage people to still do that. But we're like, I feel like it goes even deeper than that, like a level above of really like knowing yourself inside and out and healing yourself and doing all the things. So when you do show up for partnership, you have something that has like the legs to stand on. And we're like, what is that word? I think conscious kept popping up, like conscious dating and having a conscious relationship where you're not just like kind of going through the motions or falling into things, but you're actively having a voice and moving things along in a way that makes sense for you, your needs, your partner, and their needs.
The answer to the love crisis, which is a scene that we set up in our book, and for our whole last season, we were talking about the love crisis. The answer is conscious dating. It's time to wake the fuck up.
Yeah.
It's time to get up, guys. The alarm went off. Let's go. Let's go. Conscious, if you look it up in the dictionary, it's being aware of and responding to one's surroundings, to being awake.
Mm-hmm.
So for, I would say, the last couple decades, we've been unconscious.
Yeah.
Been just programmed. We've been walking someone else's story. And now it's time to wake up and start living our own stories. And that's in alignment with our dating North Star. That's in alignment with our dating why. It's time to put it all together.
And I think too, dating, when it really becomes problematic, this is why we so strongly say like we don't need to be good at dating like the way it is today. Because the way that dating is, it's like all these rules and roadmaps and like ways that you're supposed to behave that are not authentic to you in the slightest. And I feel like when I was like dating the way I thought I should be dating, I was not there consciously. I was going through the motions. I was doing what I thought I needed to do in order to land a partner. I wasn't thinking about like what partner would actually be right for me. Like who cares if you land a partner at the end of the day if they're not the person that's going to like jive well for you, not just like in the honeymoon stage, but like through the ups and downs of life. Like I think who you pick as a partner is one of the biggest decisions that we have in our lifetime because it really affects day-to-day life in so many ways. And you know, like you see fallouts of situations that it maybe wasn't conscious or like it wasn't leading with needs and really knowing yourself and kind of just fell into it, or the chemistry was off the charts and we just like really liked each other, and then time catches up and it doesn't always like lead to that happy life that I think we all ultimately want.
Why are we waking up now? Why is now the time? I think it's because we've been around long enough to see the fallout of relationships that once looked like fairy tales. We've been around long enough to witness that love is not enough, that modern dating is really killing our soul, and it's not serving us in any way. Now is the time, because when we were in the intentional dating phase, we were reprogramming and deprogramming. We knew that, okay, I was a drone for so long. I was living this program for so long. I need to relink my wires and figure out a different way. But now that we've done all that deprogramming, it's time to put it into practice, and it's time to be fully embodied from all the learnings of when we were dating intentionally.
So I think dating intentionally was kind of like a swing back from hookup culture, where people like weren't being clear with their purpose. They were just like, yeah, I'm down for something casual and fun, and I'll play it cool, no big deal, and not really staying true to their needs in the sense like, I don't want to admit that I want a relationship because that's actually vulnerable to say that I want it. And then if it doesn't happen, then I'm a failure. So I think dating intentionally was that backslide. And again, all for dating intentionally, all for knowing your purpose and why you're doing something, or at least like what goal you have in mind or like what you're trying to do. But I guess that's kind of like the problem with it too, at the same time, is that it's made us so goal oriented that everyone has this feeling like if I go on a date and this person is not like the person I envisioned my life with, like I'm done, I'm moving on because I can't waste time. I got to date intentionally. And I think that's been the backslide of it that maybe is now moving us into conscious dating because we're not fulfilled in this way. Like hookup culture, it kind of was like low pressure, nothing going on. But now dating intentionally almost like is so much pressure and like nothing can actually like move forward, where conscious dating is, okay, I still have a goal. I still know what I want in my life, but I'm going to do it in a way that like doesn't make me as focused on the outcome all the time. I look at the self-growth it brings. I
Yeah.
look at like more of that larger picture of myself and centering myself into this mix.
Maybe it's interesting to look at the evolution of dating in general. I think of it as like diet culture.
Yeah.
I think when food wasn't readily available and people were starving, you just want to eat whatever you get your hands on, right? I think that was like the old way of dating is there's not that many people around. You're going to date your neighbor, your coworker, or your church buddy. But then when food became readily available, it's in grocery stores, you can get in the frozen aisle, people went overboard. And that's the hookup culture too. It's like, oh, there's Tinder, and now I can just
Right.
swipe on someone and they can appear at my doorstep. So that's overconsumption. Dating intentionally becomes these diet plans where you're counting your calories, you're trying to lose your weight to get to this goal weight, but not understanding exactly why. It's just like, now we got to be more careful about what we're putting in our bodies. But conscious dating is intuitive eating. It's
Mhm.
going with your body,
Yeah.
understanding what you need right now. Why are you craving certain foods? And then eating naturally for your body. And there's no goal of some weight that you're trying to get to, but it's about living this healthier lifestyle. So I kind of feel like we needed to go through dating intentionally to get to conscious dating.
Yeah.
And maybe some people are still need to go through the intentional dating phase just to
Mhm.
see like, okay, I can't be so goal oriented. But if you're ready to come along to this next shift, it's conscious dating all the way. And it's that intuitive dating that we could all use a little bit of.
I really like that analogy to diet culture. I think also maybe this will help to actually read some definitions that we've like seen about dating intentionally and conscious dating. So
Mm-hmm.
dating intentionally means you date with a clear purpose and align your actions accordingly. Intentional dating is about clarity, decisiveness, and making meaningful choices in the dating process.
Mm-hmm.
But conscious dating takes intentionality a step further by incorporating self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and personal growth into the dating experience. So yeah, I think it's key difference that stands out for me is that it's not just about finding a partner, but it's understanding like why you're attracted to certain people, recognizing your patterns, and ensure that your relationships align with the highest like form of yourself.
It's reshifting the goals. The clarity in intentional dating is what you want to do in a relationship. The goal in conscious dating is what you want to grow in yourself.
Mhm.
What is it that you're looking to expand into? Which is why we want to center our whole season 21 around this idea because it is so exciting. It's kind of new, and we're just now waking up to this. But we're fully invested in making this next paradigm shift because it is the only way to live life to the fullest. It truly is. And to do it in a way that serves you. It may not work for someone else, but it's going to work for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many clear benefits. Like, first of all, the only thing you can ultimately control is yourself and what you do
Mm-hmm.
with that information. And this doesn't mean that you don't want a relationship anymore, but it's staying true to the type of relationship that that actually is. And also recognizing instead of trying to force it with someone when they're just like not in that place.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, consciously, I want someone that can do X, Y, and Z. And if they're not, then they're not. And I'm going to move on and find that person that is. So I think a big piece of it too is that self work, healing past wounds. I mean, I think we all know that those tend to make their way into new relationships and dating experiences all the time, and being present instead of like chasing that outcome. And I think also, not only does this help while you're dating, but it actually gives you that necessary foundation for a long term partnership. I feel like I would not be in the relationship I am in today if I did not have this conscious dating approach the last time
Mm-hmm.
around.
Yes. And the truth is, you're probably going to get less matches.
Yeah.
You're going to meet less people who are consciously dating. And that's the best part because you won't be wasting your time filtering through a bunch of people who are not awake. You're going to identify them so quickly and then move on from the ones who are still asleep.
I think that's really the shift that is important to point out. So I'm glad you did. Because we get a lot of messages like, no one's up to my speed. No one wants to,
Yeah.
is good enough. And that's fine. Like, I remember the episode we did with Evan Mark Katz, who's a dating coach, and he was saying, like, when you go to like a mall or somewhere public, most people are not going to be like people that are good for you to date. And
No.
that's okay. And like, as like the shift is, instead of focusing on all these people that aren't good enough, recognize like, this is what I want. I'm staying true to that and know that like the right person will emerge from that. Like, I think I look back on my story and I could have easily just gotten discouraged by these people that like weren't at my wavelength. But I was able to instead like let them go so I could find someone that was. And I think by letting them go quicker, that was something that I definitely never did in the past. Like, I would hang on to people for far too long. And to be honest, that's why I was single as long as I was, because I was hanging on to these people that were not actually, if I was to consciously really evaluate what I was looking for, I think it would have been very clear that they were not on the same page. But I didn't do that. And I was attached to this outcome of keeping them around and making it work with them. And I think once you let that go, the right people do appear. They can't appear if you're holding on to all these people that are wrong or fixating on why that they're, not at the same level as you. Like, who cares at the end of the day?
You get to shed the project mindset. You stop looking at people and saying, I see potential, or eventually they'll be consciously dating. I see signs of it. I think when you're truly consciously dating, you're not looking at the potential. People are either there or they're not. And there's no more of this, like, if I stick around a little bit longer or if I work on them a little bit longer. No, because then you know the work it took for you to get there. That's not your responsibility to do the work for someone else to get to the same spot.
That's a really good point, because I think, too, it becomes less personal, too, at that point. You're like, okay, they're not where I want to be. Like, they're not the type of person I want to be with.
Yeah.
Like, I have the confidence now to let them go. Like, I think like a past version of myself would have been like, well, I've already invested this much time.
Yes.
Like, let me see if it could work. And I like think back to that guy that was like right before my partner, my fiance now, that was like, he couldn't prioritize like meeting up like for an hour in the week. And it's like, in the past me, I would have been like, either one, thinking it was something like on me, or I would have been like making excuses and waiting for work to settle down or things to get calmer. And it's like, okay, this person is showing you that they aren't prioritizing you. Because even like hypothetically, if life is super busy, people prioritize you still. Like, they'll still proactively reach out and be like, look, this is going on. Like, this guy was not doing any of this. It was just excuses after. And I think I would have been the PR agent, and I would have been like holding on to that first like great time that we had together, being like, I can't get that again with someone else. And then this new me that was tapped into like what I really wanted was like, okay, I want someone that prioritizes me. If this person can't make an hour, that's telling me everything I need to know.
That was a major change I saw in you. Instead of complaining about the people or behaviors or dating, you just said, not for me, and I'm going to move on. And with conscious dating, we hope everybody can get out of that spiral of complaining about other people's bad behaviors. Because guess what? The universe is going to keep delivering these terrible people to you, the terrible behaviors, not to piss you off, but as a test. I think about this all the time. Pro athletes, coaches throw terrible players at them all the time during practice. Players that are subpar, not because they think you're at that level, because they want you to play with someone who's not as good as you, so you know what it feels like, for one. And two is, when you're not playing with someone who's at your level. I love that, knowing that even people at the top of their game need to be reminded that there are people who are not at the top of the game, and they need to identify who they are and move on right away. So instead of, we say this every season, instead of getting in that negative spiral, blaming everything else, it's so easy to do that. Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back to, like what Julie just said, that's not for me. That's not the action I'm looking for, and that's not the person for me.
So I want to get into examples of how do we actually start to do this while we're dating. But before we do, let's take a break to hear from our sponsors.
As summer winds down, I'm all about refreshing my wardrobe with staple pieces for the season ahead. And Quince nails it with luxe essentials that feel effortless and look polished, perfect for layering and mixing. Their styles are so versatile, I find myself reaching for them time and time again. Think chic cashmere and cotton sweaters starting at just $40, washable silk tops, which I have many of, and classic denim pants. And the best part, everything with Quince is half the cost of similar brands, and they only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. My current most favorite piece from Quince right now is a button-down linen shirt. I have the matching pants to go with it. Such a great transitional piece, perfect for summer nights right now, and then well into the fall. Elevate your fall wardrobe essentials with Quince. Go to quince.com/dateable for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/dateable to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DATEABLE. Did you know you can eat healthy without giving up flavor or fun? I didn't know that until I discovered Washington Red Raspberries. They're a clean, simple, and seriously delicious way to add more nutrition to your day. American grown by American farmers, picked at peak ripeness, and frozen within hours to lock in nutrients like fiber, antioxidants, and vitamin C. Washington Red Raspberries have no added sugar, just fruit, as nature intended. I love eating a handful as a snack throughout my day, and if I'm feeling fancy, I'll swirl some into yogurt or top off a salad. They're such a great summer treat. I won't gatekeep this anymore. Frozen Washington Red Raspberries are one of the best kept secrets in the freezer aisle, and make sure to look for Product of the U.S. on the bag. Want to discover new ways to use American frozen red raspberries and get more details on where you can grab a bag of these delicious berries? Go to redraz.org. That's redrazz.org. You'll find recipes, health tips, retail locations, and everything you need to make frozen Washington red raspberries a regular part of your routine.
Okay, examples. So I think for me, it really was able to click the differences between dating intentionally and dating consciously with some like tangible dating situations. So I guess dating intentionally, I think like one thing that is always like a key component to me that makes sense there is being upfront about what you want rather than seeing where things go. So if you say you want a serious relationship, you're going to take actions that lead you there versus being like, well, maybe I'll stay with this situationship or friends with benefits, or I'll just see if it eventually progresses. You're able to be like, okay, this is not progressing and I want it. I'm admitting to myself and the universe that I actually want it.
Yeah, I like that. And as part of that, you're establishing boundaries and sharing your needs. You're telling people like, I need someone who can text back within a 3-hour window so that I feel less anxious. And I really need someone to follow through with their plans. Like that was one of my major needs is if you're going to make a promise and if you're going to ask me out, I want you to follow through. Then I don't feel like I'm abandoned or betrayed by someone.
Another one, and I think just for the record, we're not telling you not to date intentionally still. Like these are all very valid. Yes, it's a stepping stone. I think that's the point. It's very much a stepping stone. I think another one that comes to mind is like taking breaks from dating when needed rather than like mindlessly swiping or going on dates out of boredom. So again, that's like letting dating run your life instead of you run the life that you want.
Yeah, all good things. And you're probably, if you've been listening to Dateable for a while, you're probably doing all of that right now. So congrats. Now it's time to level up.
Yeah. And some of you also might be doing a lot of the stuff in conscious dating too.
Yeah.
I think a big one that I'm pretty confident many of our listeners are doing is addressing personal triggers or attachment styles of how you connect with others. But I think this goes deeper than just understanding like I'm anxiously attached. Like I don't know, I have a mixed relationship with attachment styles in general.
We know you don't like them.
I don't like them.
We don't like them.
It's like one of those things that I think it like almost is like a band-aid solution to just like know the bare. Like I think it's like the bare minimum for that. Like I think actually knowing a personal trigger sometimes like that also takes being in a relationship
Mm-hmm.
or when you're actually in a dating situation. So when someone like, I don't know, let's say someone doesn't text you back, like when you're actually there, like instead of blaming them, saying they're terrible or they're not going to like be aligned with what you're looking for, the question becomes now, why am I so triggered by this? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is this actually bringing up in me? Is it a fear of abandonment? Is it something from my past? Is it other relationships that haven't worked out? I think I realized even in my current relationship at the beginning, I was bringing stuff in from past relationships, like
Mm-hmm.
bringing in this like insecurity that I hadn't fully addressed. And I think addressing that, it's not a one and done. Sometimes it takes time. But I think when you're able to address your own stuff, it really helps your relationship with other people. And when I say relationship, it could even just be like a couple dates that you're on with them, like anytime you're relating to another person.
And as you're saying that out loud, I feel like the dating archetype
Yeah.
is the perfect combination of knowing your personal triggers and your attachment styles. And our point with the dating archetype, it's a quiz if you haven't taken yet. It is the foundation of our book. It is all to highlight where your strengths are and where you may be overlooking something that's holding you back. And when you know your archetypes, you can communicate that with the people you're dating. It's not an excuse, it's to say, FYI, I'm a maverick dating archetype. I know that I get triggered when my freedom is threatened. Sometimes I'm avoidant as well, and I will run away. But I'm working towards something else. I'm working towards being less avoidant, or at least knowing and identifying when these triggers happen. I'm just letting you know because I'm not actually running away from you. That's the consciousness part of it all, is that you're not just putting your shit on the table and being like, deal with it.
Right.
Like, let's heal together. But I'm also giving you a blueprint of how I can be healed.
And I actually think dating is an opportunity to do a lot of this healing if we look at it that way.
Yeah.
Like if we look at it like, okay, this brought something up in me, I'm going to address it, whether that's with the other person, if you feel like you're in a place that you can. In theory, I really think like, I mean, there's clearly like a level of how much you share. Like we're not saying go trauma dump on someone on a first date, but
No.
I think like you have to take this relative to how much you know them. But I think a lot of times we say like we don't want to share anything because we don't want to
Yeah.
scare them away. It's too early. But I think that might be like erring too far on the other side as well. So I think there's a side that you can share with the people you're dating in the right capacity for how much you know them, but also therapists and friends or however you want to do the processing. But I think all these bumps in the road in dating are an opportunity to process.
Yeah. It's vulnerability at its finest. And it could be as simple as I have a tendency to take a long time texting back. And it's not me ignoring you. It's purely just I don't want to get too ahead of myself or get too excited. So if I don't text you back in a day, you can call me out. Like it's just exposing who you are. And it's not about exposing all your deepest, darkest secrets, but there's just so much unsaid in intentional dating and earlier dating that now we can just say it. Let's just say it. And the more you say it, the more you're helping the other person understand how to relate to you.
I feel like pretty early on in my relationship, I told my partner that like, texting was like the one thing. Like if I didn't get texts back in like a semi-timely manner, like I would start to get anxious. And he was like, thank you for sharing this. I will now be really conscious of it.
Yeah.
And like, clearly, like I think it's more of like people don't really know what your triggers are. So like if I never said anything, let's say he was just having a busy day, he could see my text and ignore it and then be like, I'll text her later, not knowing how that affects me. But now he sees the text, and even if let's say he's super busy and he can't text me, he could at least just shoot me a note and be like, hey, it's been a really busy day. Let me text you later.
Yeah.
That eases the anxiety. That brings us closer together. That removes so many, like there's so many like little things of dating that really derail connection.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is as simple as just a 1-second text that you can literally send when you're shitting on the toilet. Like you can do this, right?
Yes. It's so much pride and ego I think we've been taught
Yeah.
in that when we were unconscious for so long, we were taught that if we voice these needs,
Yeah, we're
then we
needy.
come off desperate. We come off like, oh, we can't get anybody else. But it's so simple, y'all. Like, think about this. If you go into a dark room, you don't know where the light switch is, and someone does. And they go, hey, it's next to the mirror on the right upper hand side. And you go and you find it and you turn on the light switch. Boom, now you have light. Wouldn't that be good information to know? That's what I think about all of this. Like what Julie just said about her texting tendencies. That's the light switch that she gave to her now fiance. It was like, that's where the light switch is. If she was like, hey, come into this dark room, feel around. I'm not going to tell you. I don't want to come off desperate. I'm not going to tell you where the light switch is. They're going to be bumping into shit. They're going to be so frustrated. They're going to be touching light switches that don't go anywhere. What is the point? Why waste that time or energy?
And the problem too is like when you don't have that light switch for both parties, it just leads to resentment because, you know, like let's say I never said anything. I would be resentful. I would maybe even get to the point that I'm like, I don't want to pursue this relationship anymore. A lot of people, we hear this all the time. Like, you know, like little things set off that people are like, well, fuck this. I don't need this. And yeah, we're not telling you to stay in bad situations, but if someone doesn't really know that this is something that's a problem for you, it's not setting them up for success to like never talk about it and just to expect that they know, because everyone processes things very, very differently.
And is it just, this is a very honest question, do we have a false sense of common sense in dating? Because I think with the texting thing, this is always just something people have conflict over. What I hear from one side is, oh, it's just common sense that you text someone back and you get the message. Other people don't think that's common sense. So there's that disagreement. That's like me saying, come into this dark room. It's common sense the light switch is right by the door. Maybe that's not common sense for some people. So maybe we have to stop defaulting to what we would do, because we're thinking what I would do normally. That's common sense. So if someone derails from that, there must be something wrong with them, or they're not common.
That was a hard lesson I feel like I had to learn. Is like not everyone processes the same way you do.
No, they don't.
And it doesn't mean they don't like you. It doesn't mean that they're a bad person. But I think it's really easy to go down the path, like you were saying, common sense, like this is natural to me.
Yeah.
And therefore everyone else must do it.
Yeah. And everybody will think something different is common sense that you don't actually do. So then we just all end up blaming each other for not doing what's common sense.
Just putting it out there. How much easier?
Wake up.
I think another place that I feel like was really important for conscious dating, another example I can think of, is this observing how someone makes you feel and if there's a genuine connection rather than just focusing on chemistry or those surface level traits. I think a lot of times like we want it to be like a formula that like if this person has X, Y, and Z, then they're a good match for us. And we're not tapping into how we feel. I think to me this was mind-blowing, especially for us overthinkers, which a lot of us are, is it's hard to get in touch with our bodies. Actually, the example I gave earlier, the guy that felt like he couldn't prioritize hanging out. When we had talked to Connor Beaton, I remember he's a men's coach. We've had him on this podcast. The episode was socially distant yet emotionally available.
Still my favorite saying.
During the pandemic. But I think it was, if you want like him to hear like him give me a live therapy session, but it really helped me because I remember I went in with the mindset that so many of us do. I wanted answers from a men's coach of if this guy was emotionally unavailable. And I think a lot of people have that mentality, right? Of like, let me make sure there's no red flags, that they're not emotionally unavailable and they're going to screw me later. Or I wanted like to justify why he couldn't, you know, make the time that maybe didn't have to do with me. So anyways, that was the mentality I went in. And he stopped me in my tracks and was like, let's tune into your body for a second. How do you feel right now? And I was like, anxious, like there's a pit in my stomach, that this doesn't feel soothing or calm or anything. And that really isn't what I want to feel in a relationship.
No.
And I think getting to that level of consciousness, and that's why in our book, How to Be Dateable, we have a whole part in the perfect partner equation of how does someone make you feel, and really helping you discover what types of feelings you want. Because I think so many of us just go to like the chemistry and the highs, and we don't really look at like the lifespan of a relationship. How do we want to feel? I don't want to feel like there's chemistry day to day in like a 30 to 50 year plus relationship.
Because that's impossible.
I don't want to feel like I'm on a roller coaster and ups and downs. Like that is exhausting mentally. I want to feel calm, collected, loved, secure, like those.
Yeah.
That's how I want to feel. And if your nervous system is not feeling like that on early dates, that is a sign. And that is conscious dating to be able to say, this does not feel right.
If we were to juxtapose this with intentional dating, is that intentional dating, what it did was it took the list, our checklist, and took it one step farther and said, throw out the superficial stuff, but what is like the lifestyle? What is the character of someone you're looking for? So it's less of a superficial based list. So where people come out of intentional dating with is, I want someone who is a digital nomad like me. I want someone who's kind. I want someone who is generous. So those were the new list. In conscious dating, we ask you this to make this link. How does that relate to you? If you want someone who's a digital nomad, what is that in relation to you? How do you want to feel in relation to this digital nomadicness? Oh, you want to feel adventurous with this person. Oh, you want to feel free with this person. Doesn't mean they have to be a digital nomad, but that can be established in different ways. Same with you want someone to be kind. Well, you want someone to be kind to you.
Right.
So, right?
They don't need to like just give to charity and then like treat you like shit in the background.
Plenty of people like that who are kind in public.
Sadly, there are. Yeah.
This is the, not to go off on a tangent, but I'm about to go off on this tangent. This is the Chinese immigrant male stereotype. And this has been depicted in many movies where these men come over, they're immigrants from China, they come over to the US or any other country. They are super nice to everybody outside. They're bosses, they're colleagues, they're the wait staff, and they're fucking terrors at home because they have so much anger that they just explode at home. This is the stereotype, but also I've seen it. And you don't want that. Like, yes, if you saw this person from the outside, you'd be like, they're a very kind person.
Yeah.
But in relation to you, do you feel safe around them? Well, no, not with someone who explodes at home. So it's just taking that list that you made while you're intentionally dating and turn around to what is that in relation to you? And how would that look in relation to you?
And for the record, I know people like that are not Chinese either.
Okay.
Many of them. I think there's I think another piece of it is like sometimes, at least I've seen from some people I know, it's like kindness. There's the act of doing versus like the intention behind it.
Yes.
And I think sometimes it's people do things that feel altruistic, but they're actually self-serving. Like, I feel better because I'm doing this. Or I will only give kindness if it's perceived in a certain way. And I will not do it if it's not. So I think, like with all of this stuff, that's why in our perfect partner equation, we have fundamentals. It's not just they like to travel or whatever. It's like, okay, what is it that actually relates to a life with you? That is a trait that person embodies, that like that traveling, that could bring up one thing for me. It's something very different from you.
Absolutely. And how does that benefit you? What is the benefit?
Right. If someone's always traveling without you, sorry, that's not great.
Absolutely. That's like probably the worst thing that you want. Like someone who's never there.
Yeah. I think the last example, I mean, there's so many examples of conscious dating. We're just giving a couple to plant the seed, but I kind of alluded to this earlier with the personal triggers, but like understanding and working through emotional baggage instead of projecting onto new partners.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this one's so huge because let's be honest, a lot of times I'll just use texting because it's a simple example, but it can go much deeper than this. When someone doesn't text back, it's less about the act of them not texting back, but it's reminding you of that person that ghosted or that person that you thought things were off to a good start with, and then suddenly it changed. It's a lot of stuff that honestly has nothing to do with the person in front of you.
Yeah.
Many of times. So I think really recognizing this and saying to yourself, like when I was able to express it to my partner, this was before he even did anything. It wasn't like he sat on a text for hours. I was able to be like, okay, this is the stuff that I know is triggering for me because of my past, because of things. And I think honestly, like another piece, like I feel like when there was a discrepancy of a pace for us in moving in, I was able to see that a lot of it was coming from past experiences of people promising something and it not
Yes.
following through. And I think I was able to, because I had that conscious understanding, it took some time. I don't want to say it like overnight popped into my mind, but it took some time. And then I was able to be like, okay, yes, that happened in the past, but this is the reason why this experience and what's happening today is not the same. Like, yes, my ex told me he wanted to marry me someday, and then clearly that never happened. But also, we weren't like in a relationship that we were doing our life together. So I'm like, it wasn't the same situation, even though it felt similar to me.
I've had this get pointed out in me where I do a lot of these, like, this always happens, or this is just a pattern of mine. And I get called out on it because I've been asked, like, is that really a pattern of yours? Was this the exact same thing that happened over and over again? And I can tell you, no, it's not a pattern, but our brains, again, they're not logical. They're evidence finders. So when we have a certain train of thought or belief, our brain will just gather all the evidence minus some details and say, here's all the evidence supporting exactly how you feel. You can't believe that shit. So in conscious dating, you wake up from that and don't rely on your brain so much, but rely on the presence of someone. Rely on the current relationship. And I like to ask in my relationship when I get triggered is, who have I just invited into this relationship? I just invited in my ex. I just invited in his ex. I just invited in my mother. And I just invited in this other person that like ghosted me 5 years ago. Okay. And then I say, thank you. Please leave. Now, can I look at this experience a little differently? Because sometimes we open the door and we let groups of people in that have somehow made a mark on our lives. And sure, they exist. We can't ignore them. But you can also say, please leave because you're not involved in this.
And that's why conscious dating is so important, because if you don't have this self-awareness, mindfulness, the mindfulness to say there's many factors coming in or people in the room, and then turning that into emotional health, like how do you do a relationship with someone?
You can't.
You can't. And I think, again, dating is the way that it's our training wheels for that relationship. And when we start to look at it that way, every experience actually is like, oh, that's helpful. Instead of like, why does this keep happening to me? Why is everyone terrible? Like, that doesn't help us.
Yes. And so this is also part of the filtering process, like we said in the beginning. You're going to meet less people who are consciously dating, but you're going to know so fast. Because when you come across these conflicts of these earlier discussions, the way they speak to the problem will give you a clue into how awake they are. Someone who's not awake will step back, get defensive, say things like, oh, wait, that's not who I am, or that's wrong, or I don't believe that.
Your fault.
That's all your fault, or that's all someone else's fault. Or they go, my ex really fucked me up, right? Someone who's conscious and awake, they will step and lean in and say, oh, I recognize that. I actually have seen that before. And I think that comes from this previous relationship. Or I take full responsibility for the actions of what you just saw, but I will also let you know why I did that. It's not an excuse. I want you to understand me and I want to understand you. Comes from a place of understanding. But damn, just having one conversation like that, you'll know right away. Like, is this yes, or is this like, bye?
But also to attract someone that is consciously dating, you have to be there yourself. Because if you're not, then you can't expect someone like, it's like the reverse of what you just said, right? Like you're going to leave when someone blames and does all the stuff or deflects. It's going to be the same that happens.
Yes. And it might take a few tries with people, but you'll know the feeling just feels so collaborative when it's conscious. But when it's so defensive, or when it becomes this blame game, you'll feel it. That's not a collaboration. That is war.
So I guess to sum it up, intentional dating is about what you want and making strategic choices to achieve it. Conscious dating is about how you approach or I kind of said that. And then, so to sum it up, intentional dating is about what you want and making strategic choices to achieve it. But the conscious dating part is often missed. And I think by doing this deeper, more emotional self-work, this is how you don't just find a partner, but the right partner. And that ultimately is way more important than finding a partner. I think too, like we can really get sidetracked on this goal of just finding a relationship. But what does that actually do for us if it's not the right relationship?
Yeah, right. But if you are still in intentional dating, it's great. Just take a pause and say, what is that I can do one step farther?
Right.
That's it. That's the only question to ask.
I want to take a quick break before we keep going. So I want to take a quick break before we keep going to hear from our sponsors. So what does a conscious relationship look like? Because I think this is actually important. Well, obviously, if you started seeing someone, but even if you're super single, because I think when you can really like figure out what this looks like and what it means for you, that's how you can make sure that you're aligned with someone to be in the right relationship. And I think relationship in this standpoint, like I don't want to put like a time box on it because I think sometimes we think like, oh, when I'm dating, it's so different. I think anytime you're relating to another human being, this stuff can be apparent. It just might be at different levels of depth, like depending on how long you know them.
Mm-hmm. So should we give some examples of what that looks like?
Yeah. I mean, I think we can like reflect on our relationships we've seen, and just from what we've learned over the years.
Yeah. Well, I don't have much to go on because I think this is the first and only conscious relationship I've ever been in.
But that's something to go on because it's a very stark comparison, right?
It feels so different. The most telling of it all is that we just talk so much about our relationship. I think that sounds so weird to say, but even I give this example all the time, the 2-year relationship that I was in, we were asleep the whole time. Oh my God. Now looking back, I don't think we had one conversation about our relationship in those 2 years.
And that's why you didn't have sex for so long. And
exactly.
Weren't happy.
We weren't talking.
Yeah.
We talked about everything but our relationship. It was almost like intentionally ignoring the two people in the room who are actually in this thing together and talking about everybody and everything else. It is a stark difference. I can't even remember the day-to-day of that relationship because I was asleep the whole time.
I mean, I could not agree more. I think like I would say in my past relationships, what made it different is that I was not talking to them. I was awake in the sense that I had needs and I knew what I wanted, but I was talking to myself, my friends, anyone but the person, because I didn't want to be too needy. I didn't want to bring up what I wanted. And I think like what's been a huge shift, again, I would also say that this is my only conscious relationship, and the conversations doesn't mean it's over. I think I always like thought if I brought something up, it would be like the end of the relationship. I think like if there's a challenge that it's transparent, it's constructive after you feel more connected. I think that's been the biggest shift for me, is that in the past, it was always like the kiss of death to like have any of these conversations, or at least that's what I thought.
Yes. It also is very telling that when you do this is very natural, when you get to a place where you talk about the end, when you talk about breaking up, to have a conscious partnership, your partner actually leans into that, gets inquisitive, and is supporting you through that. In my past relationships, it was the biggest trigger.
Yeah.
And I knew it too. I brought it up as a trigger to get a rise out of someone. And it would either be, oh, you just brought up breaking up? Fine, let's break up. Or you're talking about breaking up. Why? Get really angry about it. My partner now, he does the same thing. Sometimes he gets scared and he talks about breaking up, the end. And I lean in and I ask, let's talk about that. Like, why is it that you feel that way? We know it's no longer a do or die. It's not fight or flight. It is truly just, I'm bringing up a trigger. And then now let's lean in to understand what it is.
I think the biggest I think I give so much credit to Dr. Alexandra Solomon, but I think relationship check-ins in general are so key to having a conscious relationship. But I think the one that we do every week is based off of Dr. Alexandra Solomon's like list that she
Mm,
has. And it starts off with just like what's going well in the week for both of us, not even related to our relationship, what's not. And I think these are good to consciously like bring you into each other's
hmm
worlds. And then what's a hot damn about each other or a compliment, like something to like set the tone
hmm
right. And then what's a growing edge? What's a relational growing edge? Something that's not going so well.
mm,
And then what's the intention? And I really try to like, I think my partner, I think I've gotten good. I went from like not being able to like bring up my needs to maybe like bringing up my needs like very quickly. So
Yeah.
I think sometimes I'll like bring them up even outside of the check-in. And I
Yeah.
really encourage him though to be like, okay, even if it seems like something very seemingly little and this is
Yes.
annoying me, bring it up. Because what I've
Yes.
observed is when you're not consciously talking, the resentment comes out. It's not like it's just going to
Absolutely.
go away if you don't talk about it. So I'd much rather get it out in the open and then be able to like squash it quicker than to have this thing festering and never talk. Because that's when something small becomes a mountain.
My fear in relationships is that we get into a fight and then we end up fighting about something from the past,
Yeah, that
right?
happens a
Like
lot.
a current trigger somehow brings up something from the past that was never brought up. And that's happened in so many of my relationships. So I love this idea of just voicing it now. Just say it. Just say it out loud because it comes from you're also giving him space to do it and permission to do it. So he knows he's not getting judged. He knows that you're not going to run away. So giving your partner that safety to do
Mhm.
that is really important. And I think giving your partner the space to speak while you listen is also so key in conscious dating that I've had to really learn to do. I've always touted myself as a great listener. I'm not great with not projecting while
Mm.
listening. So that's what I've learned to do is just listen for the sake of listening. I don't need to give advice. I don't need to project my past experiences and I don't need to make any judgments. It's very
Yeah.
hard to do the three.
It is. I think another one of like what makes a conscious relationship, we've talked about it in some of the examples already, but emotional responsibility that each person is aware of their triggers, past wounds, relationship patterns, and they take ownership of their emotions and reactions. I think this is key. I think having this accountability for yourself and not placing the responsibility on your partner for your own happiness is really huge. And notice when you're projecting insecurities and take responsibility instead of blaming.
Hmm. Yep. Definitely, that's a big one. It all comes from this mutual respect and support. And I would even say admiration for
Yeah.
your partner. You genuinely want to see each other do well. You genuinely want each other to be happy. And you show that you're grateful for them being in your life. Having this constant support of each other's pursuits or personal endeavors is so important, even if you're not part of it. And I think that's been hard for me is to say, okay, I'm not even part of this
Yeah.
this progression that he's in. This is his journey, but I want to be there to support him, even if I'm not involved.
I think support also is presence of like when
Yeah,
someone is sharing their feelings, like instead of just offering quick solutions, maybe it's just listening or
oh,
offering
yeah,
empathy. But like whatever that might be, it's like being there with them while they process, not like putting it on you to fix and solve, but being a
yeah,
supportive partner.
yep. Moving on, uh, this is a given, but not talked about as much. Is this deep intimacy and connection? Sure, emotional, intellectual intimacy are very important, but that physical intimacy is also part of this trifecta, and that both of you are consciously and proactively practicing this intimacy and making it a priority. This is a very tough one for me. I will admit, like, I think going through perimenopause, there's just a lot of things I'm dealing with that I don't have. I don't always have the need for intimacy in any of that capacity, but I've learned to really force myself to make it a practice because it is really important in a conscious relationship.
I also think too, and this is something I like worry about, but I know you have to just get ahead of it, is like the longer you're together, it's easier to take someone for granted. And when
Sure.
you have kids and other stressors, like you don't have that like maybe the quality time that you once shared is no longer the priority. And I think
Yeah.
fostering and continuing to develop intimacy is so important in connection. And I think that really comes down to like having that space where you can share like your fears, your dreams, your
Hmm.
emotions, like what's going on in your life, and like feel like you have a partner. I think so many of us let this slip once we've like achieved, right? I got the relationship.
Yeah.
I'm good. I can focus on my career now. I think the reality is a conscious relationship, it's always going to be something that you need to put effort towards. And that effort is rewarding because you ultimately have this fantastic relationship, but you can't just expect that to happen without putting in that effort.
Yeah, it's a lot of effort.
It is. Relationships are a lot of effort.
Yeah.
I think the other piece of like what does a conscious relationship look like, and this is probably like kind of a hybrid of communication and then also the deep intimacy and connection, is having like a shared values and vision. Like there's alignment of what you want out of life and your values and your long-term vision, and you're having these deep connections about like those aspirations and non-negotiables in life, and you're checking in with each other regularly to see like, are we still on the same page? Does someone
Hmm.
else have things changed? Because I think the reality in a long-term relationship is that we might change over time, and it's like, how do we just keep the train moving together instead of diverging?
Yeah. Even in early dating, I actually think this is very important in early dating. You're just like gone out a few times. It's important to have these talks, and you may not have a defined vision, but you want to find someone who's willing to create one with you.
Yeah.
And even on like date 3 or 4, if you're like, oh, what's your vision for the most ideal relationship? Like, how do you want to wake up next to someone? If someone's willing to even have that discussion with you, they're on the conscious dating train. If someone's like too early, like why are we talking about this now?
Right.
Then get off, right? If you're not with a visionary in dating, then who are you with? Just someone who's along for the ride?
That's why I feel like asking someone like, do you want a relationship? Like, it doesn't give you that much
It
because
doesn't.
someone's definition of a relationship could be so different than your definition. It's more of like, how does that relationship operate? How do we like,
Yes.
co-live and coexist together? That could be like seeing someone once a week could be a sufficient relationship for some people. And other people, it's like, I want to live with my partner. I want to be with them all the time. It's like the
Hmm.
same. It's always like when people say, sorry, it's a little bit of a tangent, but they're like I'm dating this person. And then you find out that they've seen them like 2 times.
Right, right.
I think like using these like broad strokes doesn't really get to like what is it that we really want. And I think at the end of the day, this conscious relationship is about understanding each other. And it's not about being perfect. And some of this stuff, there might be trial and error that happens, but being present and open to that growth that comes from being with another human being.
And listen, maybe after listening to this episode about conscious dating, you go, that's not what I want to do. I'm not ready for a relationship. That's also good news. Because for most people, when we ask, do you want to be in a relationship? And they'll say yes, knowing all the benefits. They want to reap all the benefits of being in a
Yeah.
relationship, but they're not accepting all the challenges and work that comes with it. So now you're probably reframing what a relationship means. And now we're going to ask you back, are you ready to accept all the good and hard of a relationship?
Yeah.
If you're ready, let's get conscious dating. And if you're not, then you don't need to. Like, we're not saying you need to be on this train at all.
Right.
This may be so clear to you that, damn, I don't want to be in a relationship.
Or I'm
Great.
not ready for that type of
I'm not ready
relationship.
for
And
that.
then
Yeah.
it's like, maybe I just want to be casually dating, or
Yes,
I would say like surface level relationship, but I really believe that this stuff does creep in.
it
So I
does.
think like, I don't know if that's really realistic. I'm just like, from experiences I'm seeing, like when all this stuff is just shoved away, it has a fun way of like coming to the surface
I
eventually.
agree. I agree. I don't think you can surface level date with the same person or
No.
surface level relationship with the same person because things get deeper.
Yeah.
That's how humans work. I think if you're not ready for a conscious relationship, then what you're ready for is just meeting lots of different people and having fun and keeping everything light. Cool. Go for that. Just don't do all of that with one person.
But if you are ready for a conscious relationship, if you're
Right.
like, I do want that deep, intimate connection. I want someone that wants to share their values and vision of life. And I want to be there and, work through, heal together, all of that. Then I think it's time to really start shifting our strategy when we're dating to, again, not like trauma dumping and going all out that way, but to looking at every experience as a way to get more conscious and to understand ourselves better, the people we date better, and to really use this as training wheels till we have that, long-term relationship we ultimately want.
Are you ready? Are you ready to hop on the conscious dating train? Or maybe you're not so ready yet. What have you learned from this discussion? We would love to hear because this really sets the tone for season 21. All of the content is aligned towards this. So what have you learned? Let us know. You can DM us on Instagram at Dateable Podcast. You can give us a rating and review in Apple Podcasts. Just give us 5 stars. Otherwise, why? What's the point? Or you can email us if you want to go the old-fashioned way, hello@dateablepodcast.com. We do want to hear your feedback. What have you learned about conscious dating, and how are you currently starting to take the steps towards more conscious dating?
We don't use the word conscious dating in How to Be Dateable, our book, but it really at the core
We should.
We should. But I think chapter 6, Gated Clarity, is the roadmap and blueprint for you to consciously date.
Yeah.
If you're like, okay, I'm a little in over my head after listening to this, or I'm nowhere near there, either revisit that chapter if you already have the book or audiobook. I would also recommend, I almost feel like the book is necessary for this, like to write it down is really important, or to take notes if you have audiobook. And then, or if you didn't get the book yet, you can always go to howtobedateable.com, Amazon, any bookstore, we're there. This is going to help set this all into practice like ASAP. So we feel so strongly about that chapter. It single-handedly changed both of our experiences dating.
Woohoo! Let's change your experiences dating for the better. And maybe as an actionable item today is you go and tell a friend about conscious dating. See how you would describe it. Regurgitate this back to a friend and see what their reaction is. That's your homework. We're going to give you homework this season. You ready? Are you ready to consciously date, or are you ready for homework?
Hey, it's a way to consciously date.
It is.
Okay. Well, we're so excited to bring this season. We have so many great guests in store to hear their journeys, how they're dating differently, how they're dating more consciously. There's a lot of really good episodes in store. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. And we look forward to being with you every Tuesday and Sundays also for our brunch talk.
Wrapping up this episode.
Stay dateable.